Okay, so the title of my presentation is Children, a Source of Happiness or Problems, Paul's Opinions on Parenting. I was thinking about the title of my presentation, and I decided that it would be a good topic because as probably I hope that that probably all of us know that Poland is one of the European countries with the lowest total fertility rate. And in 2023, it stood at 1.158, and in 2024, it fell to a very, very low level of 1.099. In 2025, it was even lower, but we are waiting for the detailed data. And we also know that low fertility rates lead, among other things, to the decline in Poland's population, to aging of our society, to shrinking labor force, to increase in the proportion of people of retirement age, and an increase in the dependency ratio of people of retirement. And demographers say that reversal of these adverse trends could occur, among other things, as a result of an increase in the number of births. So, why Poles don't want to have more children? We know that family is one of the most values for Poles. It's at the top of the values. It's the top value. So, what's going on? Are children no longer a source of happiness for them? Until recently, analysis of the factors determining low fertility rates focused on explanations related to the growing importance of individualistic values in developed societies and the incompatibility of family and career aspirations, particularly among women. They emphasized that the conflict between family and professional life can lead to a decline in fertility. In recent years, the focus has begun to shift toward research examining the impact of having children on parents' happiness. Demographers, sociologists, social scientists emphasize that understanding how having a child affects individuals' overall well-being and happiness can be a key factor in explaining procreative behavior. The perception of children not as a burden, but as the greatest source of happiness is referred to as emotional gain from having children. An increasing number of studies analyze these types of non-financial motives behind the reproductive decisions. We know that financial motives are not quite strong. So, their findings indicate that parenthood is indeed a significant factor positively influencing life satisfaction. And in my speech, I will present the results of a sociological study and analyze them in order to answer the question of whether, in the opinion of Poles, children are a source of happiness, or perhaps happiness is unrelated to having them. So some methodological information. The empirical data presented in my speech is part of a larger quantitative study conducted in December 2020 2024 on a nationwide representative sample 1,226 Poles aged 20 to 60. Me and my friend, my colleague Olga Dr. Kotowska-Wójcik, we were the authors of the study. And the study was conducted using the Ariadna National Research Panel, using the computer-assisted web interview technique. Taking into account the purpose of this presentation, the empirical material concerns only people aged 20 to 39. It was 555 respondents. It was something about 35% of a sample. Why this group of age? Because the highest fertility rate is observed among people in this age group in Poland. So, to answer the questions posed at the beginning of my presentation, the level of agreement declared by respondents with two statements was observed. The first was parenthood promotes professional fulfillment, and the second, you can be happy without children. Or it is possible to be happy without children. Respondents were asked to express their opinions on this matter with 5 responses to choose from strongly disagree to strongly agree. Okay, and I hope that you see this data. For you, it will be okay. So the data analysis indicates that having children has a moderate effect on the level of agreement with the first statement. Parenthood promotes professional fulfillment. Parents agreed with the statement more often than childless people, while among childless increasingly, among childless people, the most frequently chosen answer was neither agree nor disagree. It was almost 42% of respondents. It is also worth noting that childless individuals were more likely to choose negative responses. When considering only those respondents who have children, women were more likely than men to disagree with this statement, while men were more likely to strongly agree with it. The percentage of parents who disagreed with the statement also increased with higher levels of education. As can be seen from the data presented in this slide, the level of agreement with the opinion that parenthood promotes personal fulfillment increases with the increase in the number of children. Conversely, the percentage of negative responses decreases as the number of children increases. Parents of 3 and 4 or more children did not select any negative response. Among those who plan to have more children in the future, no one selected the response strongly disagree, and almost 4% of them choose the disagree option. Among those undecided, the corresponding percentages were almost 2 and more than 9%, and among those not planning to expand their family, it was 10 and more than 14%. Support for this opinion was highest among those who had future plans to have children, and lowest among those not planning to have children in the future. However, I would like to point out that the relationship between these variables wasn't very strong. As for the other sociodemographic variables, a weak correlation was observed only between the distribution of responses to this question and the marital status. When the strongly agree responses were combined, it turned out that they were most frequently endorsed by married individuals. A significantly lower level of agreement was observed among those in non-marital relationship and those without a partner. It was also important to determine to what extent respondents agreed with the statement that it is possible to be happy without children. Respondents who already had children were more likely to disagree with this statement than childless respondents. A much greater difference was observed in support for the statement. Because almost 70% of childless individuals accepted it, compared to almost 42% of those who were parents. A correlation was also observed with regard to the number of children. The opinion that it is possible to be happy without children was most often rejected by people with 4 or more children, followed by those with 1 child, 2 children, and least frequently by those with 3 children. After summing up the responses supporting this statement, it turned out that regardless of the number of children, it was more often supported than rejected. It received the strongest support among those with 4 or more children, followed by those with 1 child, 3 children, and 2 children. It is also worth emphasizing that a significant number of respondents were undecided in this reject, as evidenced by the percentage of responses indicating neither agree nor disagree, ranging between 31 and 42%. The exception was parents of at least 4 children, because none of them selected this response. Although there were some noticeable differences in the distribution of respondents' answers to this question, depending on whether they plan to expand their family in the future, these differences were minor. Respondents agreed with the statement far more often than they disagreed with it. And the correlation between these variables was very strong. In the case of the statement, apart from the fact of having children, their number, and reproductive plans, the distribution of responses was also influenced by variables such as gender, age, education, and marital status. The opinion that it is possible to be happy without children was more frequently supported by women than by men, by people in informal relationships and singles than by married people. The level of acceptance increased with educational attainment and decreased with the respondent's age. So, conclusions. I'm a sociologist, so I would like to point out that family is, from my point of view, is a social construct. Therefore, opinions about what it is and what it should look like are determined by the normative systems shaped by a given society. So, any changes in the perception of children, and especially parenthood as a source of happiness, can lead to perpetuation of a negative image of it and thus constitute a significant factor determining the low fertility rate in Poland. This is why it is so important to examine how opinions on parenthood are shaped and answer the questions posed in the introduction of this presentation. So the results of my analysis indicate that having children had a moderate effect on the distribution of responses to the statement parenthood promotes personal fulfillment. Parents were more likely than childless individuals to agree with this statement. And to the statement, it is possible to be happy without children, because people with children were more likely to disagree with it. The number of children did not determine the distribution of responses for the first of those statements, and only to a small extent for the second. Parents were more likely to reject it. The situation was reversed regarding the relationship between the statements and having plans to have children in the future, because weak correlation was observed regarding to the statement parenting promotes personal fulfillment. It was supported mainly by respondents with plans to have children in the future, followed by those not planning to enlarge the family, and finally by those who were undecided. The distribution of responses for the statement was also determined by the respondents' marital status, which, along with variables such as gender, age, educational level, also influenced the distribution of respondents for the first statement. And the last slide. Due to the low fertility rate in Poland, the topic addressed in this presentation is of a great importance, as it allows for analysis of the emotional benefits associated with parenthood and having children. Therefore, opinions regarding parenthood and the emotions associated with having children should be monitored, especially since the study did not account for a number of variables such as psychological factor, for example, personality traits that can significantly influence responses to questions related to happiness. Furthermore, the relationship between the level of happiness and having children is also conditioned by a number of other factors not considered in the study, such as family policy. Including this issue in international comparative studies represents an interesting direction for future analysis, which would allow for the demonstration of institutional and perhaps also cultural influences within the analyzed topic. Thank you very much for your attention.